Jamal Crawford's played with all of them. Oh my God. Let me start with that. So JJ Redick, who I don't know, I always tell the funny story. I lost my dog in my neighborhood once, and JJ Redick found it. So he's got a keen eye. That's all I know about him. But I don't know. What would be the problem for you, Jamal, never having coached, right out of the league? There you go to coach. Do you think it can work?
I absolutely think it can work. I think the negative part is just you don't know what you don't know sitting in that seat. But I think for JJ, if he gets the job, you build a staff of guys who have been in that seat before, who will guide you in a way, but still let you put your fabric and your touch on the team. He's a brilliant basketball mind. We played together for 4 years, and we used to have the great discussions about this or that. And he's been unbelievable. It's been great to watch his rise in media, and I think he'll be a great coach in time.
Kyrie Irving is probably in my lifetime the best dual hand closer for his size in the sport. Either hand, left, right, close. He has also been temperamental, and that's part of his resume. And we're all a product of our resumes. I mean, one of the reasons that teams liked you is you were dependable. His temperament can be a tad uneven. Are you surprised at all that he goes to a very high ball usage teammate and actually is flourishing, is playing the best basketball of his career, though he doesn't have the ball in his hands as much as he may in other places? Does it surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me from the standpoint that if you look at LeBron, who's another high usage guy, not the exact replica to Luka and how they play, but some similarities there. And Kyrie thrived playing next to LeBron, and LeBron loved playing with Kyrie. I love where Kai is at mentally, spiritually, physically. Like he is aligned, and everything he's doing right now. The bigger the moment, the bigger the shot, the better Kyrie is, and he's the type of guy that you don't worry about stopping him. You worry about not being embarrassed. And he's at his all-time best playing, and he's playing so great with Luka. And now this may be the first time Kai's been on a team since he was a young player where he's the wise vet. He's the bigger brother, and he's leaving a great example for Luka to follow. And you can see the respect Luka has for him as well.
When you sit in my chair, we have strong opinions. I fill 3 hours a day. I like Boston to win. I think they're super collaborative. I think their players are smart. I do say, though, I am old school. I got gray hair. I grew up in a time of...
That's wisdom. You earned that.
Thank you. That's what I tell my wife. It's all wisdom. But I grew up in a time with Kobe and Bird.
Yes.
And Michael and LeBron to Steph, which is, there's 2 minutes left. Give me the ball. I'm going to make a play. Jayson tends to be thoughtful, collaborative. And it does. If you go look at the last 9 champions, they've had a top 3 player. They've had a give me the ball guy. Is it fair to say at times he's a tad too collaborative and too giving and should be a little more demanding for the ball in late spots when the matchups serve him?
I think experience is the best teacher. And for JT, I really believe going through that finals, right, where they had a chance, but they turned the ball over at moments. Steph Curry just went ridiculous and took over the whole finals. He's looking at that as a young player saying, you know what, if I'm ever back in this situation, if I'm ever back in this, I may do things a tad bit different. And I think that experience will benefit him going forward. You could just tell now he's just doing whatever it takes to win. It may be a big rebound. It may be the right assist. It may be scoring 6 or 8 or 10 straight points because he can do that as well, obviously at the highest level. But he's in a very, very mature place. I know for sure Kobe's a muse for him, one of his favorite players ever. And to get these opportunities, they don't come often. He had an opportunity last year in a Game 7 where he rolls his ankle the first play of the game where you could just tell he was going to go off in a big night and get 40 or 50. I think he does not let this opportunity pass him by. He will be aggressive, but he'll also do whatever it takes he believes to give his team the best chance to win.
I remember hearing about Luka, so I went to the internet and I watched this European stuff. And I'm like, well, he looks a little thick, not terribly vertical. It's a little Larry Bird-ish. I thought he would score, but I didn't think it would be this. When did you identify Jamal? When did you watch him and go, yeah, this is going to be a problem? Like, he's just not stoppable.
It's amazing because when you look at it, he's been a pro since he's, 15 or 16?
Yeah.
So all the information he gathered at that time, By the time he's 20, 21, he's basically mastered the game of basketball. We all talk about his pace and how he plays. It's not just his pace, is that his pace can make you go his pace. And then only he knows what he wants to do from there. He can slow the whole game down. Like he takes a picture of the court and he's so unbothered and he's so at peace. I make jokes about it. He plays like he's playing with headphones on, listening to smooth jazz while you're pressuring him and trying to bother him. So at peace with his game, and he makes the right decision, and he loves the big moment. So when you have a guy like that, he raises everybody's level of play, even if he doesn't get the assist for it, the gravity he pulls, the way you have to game plan for him. And what's really special about him is that he's not a guy like, oh, a game or two, we'll figure him out. It's like, no, we just have to deal with this problem. He's a problem, and we just hope he's off, or we hope his teammates aren't making as many shots to give him less space.
So, two kind of broad basketball questions. It used to be, I can remember this 20 years ago, where the knock on European players like Tony Kukoc is they're skilled, but they're soft. Well, they're not anymore. They come with attitude. There has been an infusion of global talent. And there are some really fantastic domestic players, Tatum, Brown, Ant, no question. But you do see the Wemby, Jokic, Giannis, Embiid, SGA. And if I said you are Lord of American basketball, Jamal Crawford, you're 20 years of experience, you're the new CEO of United States basketball, what would you, because you're a thoughtful guy, what would you do to tweak our system? Because it does feel, Jamal, fairly. They play fewer games against older players. They come in more skilled. They're less distracted. What would be your tweak? That's not that our basketball game is bad, but it feels like it needs a tweak domestically. Or am I over the top on that?
I think you're spot on. And I actually coach the Rotary Boys and Girls Club, AAU, Rotary style. We're, top 10 in the country. And what's impressive about that is we're not trying to be. We're trying to teach things the right way. And I think it starts at the grassroots level. So much of what's going on now is individualized. It's about me. It's about what's in my bag. I had a pretty good bag handling the ball, but I think what's in your bag shouldn't be what your handles are. What's in your bag should be, oh, this is a catch and shoot game. Oh, this is a game. It's a 1-2 two dribble pull up game. This is a game I get my teammates going. That's what's in your bag. You can go to different things. And I think for us, we have to start making our kids play up earlier. That's how I grew up. My first trainer wasn't when I got to Michigan. I had a rebounder. It was the guy in the park drinking a 40 in between games. Hey, you got to cut right there. It was the old guy at the park. And we need to play with those older guys. We need to play with people better than us. We need to continue to develop more than say, hey, let's get the instant gratification at an early age. Let's continue to work and develop and play the long game. I think overseas, they're playing the long game. They're doing it more collectively. And I think they know how to play basketball. If you know how to play basketball, you can play anywhere in the world and play the right way. We can go to open gym right now with 5 guys we don't know. And if we know how to play basketball, we're probably going to be successful because we know that it's a team game. We know how to play it at a high level, and it raises the IQ. And if you raise the IQ for the basketball at the grassroots level, getting to the parents, getting to these coaches, I think that will help trigger and start a new movement of what we need to do to get, American basketball back on top in a really, really dominant way.
Not surprising, a highly thoughtful, we said this before you came on the air, you're just one of the real thinkers in this sport, and I love it. So, you know this, you played for 9 teams. I remember most of them. Clippers, Knicks, Bulls, Hawks, T-Wolves, Suns, Blazers, Warriors, Nets. A couple of them were brief, but 20 years. And I said this about the Knicks and Tibbs. You can't just throw anybody into that mix. There is an almost collegiate zeal, an intensity, a Villanova feel. Those guys like to be hard coached. They like to play defense. DiVincenzo with the Knicks is one of the better catch and shoot guys now. He like that. He found his team. He found his Villanova. It's in New York. He found it. Yeah. You got to be careful with who you bring in, though I think they need another scorer. And my take is, I don't know if I need a KD. I may need a Mikal Bridges because he's in line with their culture. Take me through your 20 years. When you look at the Knicks, you had Tibbs. You have Jalen Brunson. He's a clear one. I don't want the ball out of his hands. could you screw it all up with the wrong guy? Is there a guy you think fits? Because I think they're going to move off probably Randall and look for a more dependable postseason scorer, a better fit. Is there a player that works for the Knicks for you?
Well, since you said Kevin Durant, the thing that's special about KD, and I've always said this, most superstar players are only superstars when they have the ball. They don't do the little things to cut, to move, to play off of guys. He actually does that perfectly. He plays off of people the right way. He can play so many different systems, and he can play styles that won't ruin your offense. It won't hijack the offense. It's a fluid game, right? So Brunson can still be Brunson. DiVincenzo will still get his catch and shoots. Kevin Durant is playing perfection basketball. And what I mean by that is, if he has a shot, he'll take it. I watched one game, he had 40. And you know me, I'm a gunslinger. If I get 40, I may kick it up there and there. He had 40 in the corner. He threw it to the guy without hesitation and got a guy a look where I thought he could have shot it. So he's playing perfection basketball. But you're right. Culture is everything. Fit is everything. You don't want to ever take away from what you're doing. You want to add to and enhance what you're doing. So it takes a special player that's a dynamic scorer that can fit into that. Mikal Bridges, the other one. He knows those guys. He knows respect. He knows what's expected of those guys and how they play, their culture. And he would only enhance, things of what they're doing and won't take away from it. He'll fit right in. Because Larry Brown taught me this a long time ago, since we spoke on coaches. He said, Jamal, you can have a big bucket of ice cream. You can walk down the street and the bird poop, just that much bird poop gets in the ice cream. The whole ice cream is ruined. And that's what you don't want.
Hey, I got to ask you. Yeah, I'm going to finally ask you a Caitlin Clark question. I actually think the growth of women's basketball, that the fact that they have an enforcer that goes after her, I'm like, that's it. That's what the guys do. They're physical. Kennedy Carter's the Pat Bev of the WNBA, and I'm like, Caitlin Clark doesn't need our protection. She's defiant. This is the ultimate growth of women's basketball, is that it gets chippy. I think it's great. And everybody's like, oh, this is a cheap shot. And I'm like, you guys, she's tough. She can handle it. What was your takeaway this weekend? People really freaked out as if Caitlin Clark was being attacked. And I mean, God, you could go back to your high school days in Seattle, your college days at Michigan. There's a chippy guy on every roster in the country.
And you know what? That's a part of respect as well. And it doesn't look good for somebody who hasn't, been around the game or played the game. But they would not, be as aggressive or physical with Caitlin Clark if she wasn't that great. And she's going to be great. She's going to be way greater than she is. This is, she's 2 weeks into the season. And what she's done to help grow the women's game. I interviewed the great Dawn Staley, about a month back, and she talked about the growth of the game and how Caitlin Clark is right there at the center of it. So these things right here, Kennedy wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do that if, Caitlin didn't have her respect. So I think that's part of the game. That's part of growing it. And then Caitlin's going to look back maybe in 2 months like, there's nothing you guys can do to stop me. Like, there's no problem. And that's what you want, because it's going to make her better in the long run. And it's just now that we have more eyes on it. I love watching the women's game. You know what? I didn't watch much of the NC2A last year. I watched all the women's side of things because it was so much more interesting to me, the way they were playing, the style of play, selfishness, how solid they were. And I have a young daughter who's playing now as well. So I'm watching that more than I watched the men's side, if I'm being honest, last year. So
great to see you again. So happy for your success. It was predictable. We knew you'd have it. And we're really happy for you, Jamal. I really am. Now, J-Mac and I were talking about this earlier. Where did you go to high school?
Rainier Beach High School.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Which is by Seattle. You're not far from Seattle. Who was in your league? Did you play like the O'Days? Who did you play?
Oh, O'Day, Garfield, Franklin.
Yes.
Blanchett, all those guys. Seattle Prep, Eastside Catholic.
And Jamal torched all of them. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.